Hello and welcome to the second workshop in our Christmas in July 2023 series with Venetia Ramsey from Scrapworks. You should have all your bits and pieces cut out and scored and added tape. Okay, one of the things I like to do before we get started, I'll show you on this one, is just to miter the corners. So you need to cut a slight little angle in, and I like to cut away from my fold line, out. Same as here, I put the scissors at the edge of the fold line and cut out. Okay. Then for the pocket, you can cut into where that fold line intersects and cut into where the fold line intersects. If you feel more comfortable using your craft knife, then you can do that. And then again, I like to just cut away from the fold line, from your score line, cut a little, just a slight little angle like that, so that when we fold, there's no bulk. Okay. I cut away from the score line in case my scissors slips and I actually cut the line. And then you have to recut everything. Okay, so then when this now attaches, it makes it easy for things to slide in. But we'll get to that in a bit. So before you start to attach everything, make sure you have already just cut all the little corners. Okay, so we're going to start by assembling the base pages first. So you should have put A's, B's, C's and D's on everything. So we're going to attach to page A. We're going to attach piece B. Alright, so if I open it up like this, you can see I have my tape. This becomes my gusset. And I'm going to fold the entire sheet in. Okay, which will then become the page that... So you want to make sure that you have your gusset exposed, because we want to line this piece up with this piece of gusset. And I find it easier to just fold it in and then line these two up together. So basically on the fold lines you're going to attach the two together like that. Right, it's easier if you remove half the tape. Okay. Attach to it flush against the top and flush against the side. Just get that first little bit attached. Make sure that that's in place, that we've got it nice and straight. Looks like it is. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that I can keep that in place like that. Looks like it's going skew at the top, so before I burnish, I'm going to just take the tape off. I still have a chance to be able to do that because I haven't pushed the tape down to adhere yet. I haven't burnished that tape on yet. So we can go again. Alright, attach the top and the side. Okay, before I burnish everything in place, I'm just going to make sure, there we go, that looks much better. If there is a slight little overhang like there is there, we can just trim that straight. So that's going to go there. Perfect. So now you just want to hold this piece in place and pull the tape. And again, you don't want to put too much pressure just yet. You want to be sure that you've got it straight. So we just basically tack it in place. That looks good. It looks nice and straight. Everything in its place. And then now that we know that it's straight, we can actually burnish that in place. And then open that up. and give it another little burnish. Alright, so what you'll see now is that we are now creating our gusset, because this piece will be attached to the base of the page, and then this starts to create our spine. If you see like that, we'll attach that and there will be a piece of paper. So now we're starting to create our pages. Right, so now we want to add the next one. So I'm going to fold my gussets away so that I have a straight edge, and we're going to attach piece A to piece B. So the same thing, that's going to go, all right, engage, you're going to engage a gusset. So this first line is going to be attached flush against there, like that, okay? So remove a piece of your tape, and we're going to line it up, flush against the side, flush against the top, hold that in place, tack it down. Remember, don't burnish yet. Okay, make sure this is nice and straight. Do I have no overhang here? Yes. So hold this in place like that. Double check. Once it's in place, you can remove the tape backing, and again, just a gentle tap in place, tack it in, make sure it's nice and straight. It is. My pages line up nicely, everything's where it should be. Now we can burnish that in place, open that up, burnish that in place. Alright, let's see, so that gives us, if I put it down like that, gives us the 3. So when it goes into my album now, it'll stand up. Remember, this is the piece that attaches to my backing. So now we have a full page, a half a page, a full page. Okay, we're going to attach, so double check that everything's straight, because here's your opportunity to fix things, trim things, make sure everything's exactly where it should be. Okay, next up we're going to attach the last page, which is piece B to piece A. Remember, you don't want to attach it like that. You want to make sure that there's a gusset, and that we're going to line this side up with this side. Okay, so you know the story. We're going to remove the tape backing. Okay, let me take this one off the bottom here. Right. So attach it flush against the side, just a tack, and flush against the top. That looks right. Alright, that looks right to me. And flush against the side. Just a gentle tap to make sure that everything is exactly where we want it to be, that all the pages are lining up, that it's nice and straight. I'm happy with that, so we can then burnish that in place. Right, so there are the base pages of our album created. Right, I like this hinge system because it does make for a flatter, the album does lay flatter when we open it. So you just want to make sure when you open it, everything's nice and straight. Because remember, if this goes skew, your whole album goes skew. Just burnish everything nicely in place. So then again, double check. I'll show you now. Once it goes into your album, that's what you're going to see from the top. I'll hold it like that. So we've got a full page, half a page, full page, half a page. Right. So we are now going to create the cover. Once we have the cover, we'll attach the rest of the pockets to this page. Right, so to determine the spine, I know that I've already given you the measurement, but in case you're wanting to make your own, to determine the spine, I always measure it So the spine would, in this case, would be 4 centimeters, but I've made mine 1 centimeter bigger to allow for me to be able to add stuff on the top and a little bit at the bottom. So it just gives me a little bit more space to play then, and less chance of a crocodile mouth with my album. So you should have already, if you're doing the same as mine, you should have cut out your covers. Okay, so you need one for the front, one for the back, and then we need our spine, and you will also need some construction tape. You can use this narrow one, or you can use the broader one. I prefer to work with the broader one, just makes it easier for me. Okay, so open that up. We'll start working with one side and then the other. So I like to put my cover down flush, and then I will attach this one. I'll use the grid on my cutting mat to attach my construction tape, so I can get it more or less straight. Okay, I'll turn that over. See that? Okay, remember the stuff is sticky, so to reposition is, once it's burnished on, to reposition is going to be very hard. That looks good to me. Okay, and then I will trim that. I rather use a craft knife than use the scissors because it's so sticky. Right, so there we go. That's the one side done. Right, then I want a 1/2 centimeter gusset before I attach my spine. So we'll measure from the edge of the front cover, measure 1/2 centimeter, 1/2 centimeter, and another 1/2. Right, and then you can lay your ruler flush against, line your ruler up. Okay, and you want to make sure that you get straight edge. So before I drop that down, it looks like I've got it on pretty straight. I will also then just double check with my ruler that I've got it on straight at the top, straight at the bottom, to be sure when I turn it over. Yes. Okay, so you'll notice I didn't push it down flat until I was sure I had everything in place. Okay, so now this little thingy here is very, very sticky. This is optional, you don't have to do it, but I do it just for to keep it neat and not have anything stick. Just slide some tape in there. There we go. You could do it before, but then I do find that the tape is not always your best guide, but you can do what's easier for you. I like to measure. Right, so then that gives me that joint. So when I close my album, just want to make sure everything is nice and easy and comfortable to work with. There we go. Trim off any excess. Right. A little bit of tape. Okay, so my album is straight. The spine is on straight at the top and at the bottom. Hold that nicely, give it a good burnish. There we go. Right, so there we go. So that gives me a nice finished off edge. Okay, so we'll do the same on the other one. If you don't want to work with your mat, the other option then is to make a centimeter mark on your cover. I find the mat a little bit easier to work with. You can draw a line, right? And then attach the tape to that. Very sticky. Okay, so I'm not going to fight with it. I'd rather just cut it off. See how this is a stick? That's why I prefer using the craft knife. There we go. You can use your 1 centimeter guide, your ruler line if you prefer that, to working on your mat. I prefer the mat. Okay. Right, so you just want to make sure that they, like here it's made a little kink, so you just want to lift and smooth that out. You don't want any kinks in the construction tape. Right, then I'm going to measure my 1/2 centimeter. Half a centimeter. Okay. And this part now is going to attach here. You want to be sure that you've got your top and bottom lined up, that your cover is straight. There we go. Double check with a ruler. It looks pretty straight to me. Yep. Okay. And like I say, I like to add the tape in that groove there to stop it from sticking. You could attach a piece of paper if you wanted to. I just find the tape is the easiest. Right. Okay. Any excess tape that you can see, you need to trim that off. Top and bottom, because you don't want to create any bulk. Right. Check here, nice and straight, and then there's an air bubble. So you just want to burnish that tape on nicely, and then we can fold it. Make sure your top and bottom is lined up nicely. Give it a nice burnish. Bring that forward. And give it a nice burnish. There we go. Very happy with that. Right, so we can then put another piece of this all the way around, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to cover it with some pattern paper. I'll leave it just like that. I am going to put some pattern paper on my spine, so it's unnecessary for me to do anything more with that. Right. However, I will then put some more of this tape on the inside here so we can then remove this backing tape. There we go. And the same here. Take that out. Right. Okay, so just to make sure my spine is nice and secure, the album is secure, I'll put some more tape both sides. So again, I will use my board to line my line it up, and I just want it to come across 1 centimeter from there to there. Okay, I'm going to trim that off. Going to take it off. I'll trim it off properly afterwards. Right, so we'll do this side first. Okay, because we don't want it to pull and we don't want it to create too much bulk, we can lift it up and we can start from the outside and just work this down. So we're going to burnish that in, and you're going to bring your burnishing tool to the end of the where it starts, where your cover starts, and just burnish that in like that, and then do the same this way. Get it to meet up there so that you get it nice and flush and nicely worked in, so there's no bulk and everything is attaching nicely, and there's also no pull on the album. Like that. Now we can just gently work this one out. You'll see that I start from the middle and work my way out to the edges. I'm working gently, making sure that there's no bulk, and that I managed to get that worked in really nicely. We can lift this little piece up, just work that down. There we go. We can turn that over and we can trim off any excess again. There we go. So we'll repeat that on the other side. Okay, remember I like to line it up. Line up on the lines here, flush against this line, flush against that line. Okay, we're going to attach this 1 centimeter onto the album cover. It doesn't have to be 100% straight, and it doesn't have to be a perfect 1 centimeter. Just going to trim off a little bit. There we go. Lift that up. Right, so remember, we don't want it to stick too tight just yet. So I just lift that. And we can start from the outside, burnish that down, and bring it down to the edge of your cover. And just work that in. Move that over to the other edge. There you go. You want to make sure that's really burnished in well. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then work from the middle. Just gently put that piece of so if any air bubbles are created, we can lift. Okie dokie. Burnish that construction tape in place. So you want to make sure that you've got all the air bubbles out, that it lines up really well. There we go. We can trim off the excess. And there we go. So this will close up nicely, gives us a nice, comfortable album. Put it like that. You can see there's no bulk inside here, and it closes up really well. Okay, looks like I just need a little bit more there. So that's exactly what you would do. You just go in and double check, make sure you've got everything in the way you should, give it that extra burnish, make sure nothing's going to move. All right, that looks good. Looks good. I can see there's a tiny little overhang here. I'm going to go in and just trim that off. Because remember, when I put cover my album, that little piece will then create some bulk. I just want to be sure it's all gone. There we go. Right. So now we just want to do the edges. Again, you can go with the narrower one. I prefer to work with a little broader one in case I go skew. Okay, so this time I'm going to draw my lines because I want to put on 1 to 1.5 centimeters. Alright, and draw a line. Right, we'll do that all the way around. 1.5. And then 1.5 along the sides. And those are going to be my guidelines for where I want the tape to be. Like that. Okay, so that gives me a nice place where to line my tape up. I prefer to work in one long strip than to break it apart, so we can just open it up, line it up, and I'm holding it up at the top, at this end I'm holding it up, and then just slowly lowering it where it needs to be. Okay, I normally work with it facing me, but for you to be able to see, okay. You also don't want to put any tension on the construction tape, because then you run the risk of it pulling, the cover pulling skew. Right. There we go. Just trim that off over there. Oops. There we go. All right. Okay. So you can just pull this over. Okay, so let's make sure that we've got it in, burnished in really well. Okay, and if I'm going to close now, there's no drag, no pull, no, just the normal that I would normally see. Everything looks good. Okay, so what I would do now is work with it like this. You can miter the corner slightly. Just going to trim off this excess. Right. Okay. I'll get to that one later. So you just want to make sure that that is on really well. We start from the outside. I'm using my hands to push my cover flat. I'm going to work from the center. Just going to pull that down. You want to feel it flush against the cover. You want to feel that it's pulled on there. So just a tiny little bit of pull on the construction tape. There we go. And again. There we go. So if it makes any little ridges, you need to work those out. Okay, but as long as it's tight against the edge, all is good. Okay. I'll turn it in, and we're going to work it in. Work it in. Make sure that we got it on nicely here. I've got no ridges there, all looking good. Okey-dokey. Again, we can trim off the excess. Okay, and we're going to repeat that process on this side. I am working from the inside out. There's no really right or wrong way. Right, so pull this piece out, line it up with your line so you get it more or less straight. Make sure you've got there's no tension on the construction tape. You want to drop it down into place, pick it up. Okay, I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the excess. Right. So I'm going to turn it over. Looks right. Close that up. I can see there's a tiny little air bubble there. Just going to work that in. But for most part, it looks like it's attached quite well. There we go. Give it a bit of a rub. Okay, then again I'm going to hold my album down and then just put a little bit of pressure to pull this in. Okay, the whole time I want to be able to feel that it's flush against the cover. Okay. There we go. So a bit firm so that you can feel it touches the cover. Pull that in. Alright. So we can work out any air bubbles. Alright. I have an air bubble. There we go. Smooth that out. Smooth it out. Better. Good. Any kinks worked out. Right. We'll go turn it over. Work it in to the groove. Burnish that in place. Burnish this in place. Make sure I've got it against. Oh, I do. Nothing folding over or bending over. Looks good. We can then work all of this out. That's starting to look good. Okie dokie, trim off any excess. There we go. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. Okay, so this is the inside. This is the inside of my cover. Right, so I want to attach the other piece to the front of the cover so that I can miter the corners. Let's go 1.5, 1.5, and then draw a line. I can line that up. 1.5, 1.5, and I'll show you now why I prefer to do it on the front. So we're working on the front, front. Okay. Right, so we're going to attach some tape. I'm going to take it past. So it's a little bit longer than my cover on both sides. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Right. It's very sticky. I have to get this off because it will create bulk on my page, so it does need to come off. Don't miss that. Right, so I have attached it. It feels like it's on reasonably well. I can double check that there are no air bubbles. It looks pretty smooth. Okay. So we want to miter the corners, and I would still use my corner goodie. Just going to line it up with my page. So it's 90 degrees there, 90 degrees there, and I'm going to draw a line. Okay, so I've got an idea of where I need to just going to get my corner goodie. Draw a line. There we go. So I'm going to cut that. You'll notice that I cut from the middle. Alright, so if I started to cut from the edge, it would bunch up, so I just cut from the middle, you see. And then I can take my craft knife and cut again from the middle out. Same here. From the middle out. Okay. stick those two together so that they don't stick on everything. So now I'm just going to tuck this piece in nice and straight. Tuck this piece in nice and straight. Use my to tuck that corner in. To tuck that corner in. And then from the middle, pull it. Add a bit of tension to pull. You want it to be flush against that side. You don't want there to be any gap between the construction tape and your grey board, or whatever you're using for your cover. There we go. So a nice, neat, mitered corner. Right. Nice and neat. Okay. Can do the same to this side. We work from the outside. We're going to apply some tape. Remember, there's an overhang on either side. Put that tape down, put that tape down. There you go. Take it across. Trim that off a bit. I know that is stuck on nicely. Good. Sticky stuff. There we go. Oops. Right, so make sure that everything's in its place. We're going to double check here. Nice and smooth. Any little dust and papers that may have stuck, we're going to take off. Okay, so I'm going to put that, line it up. Okay, so my little goodie, I have two sides, one side that can slide on, and then a little piece that I can hold onto. All I'm doing so that it doesn't slide on and get sticky is I'm using the little piece here so it creates a little gap. So my corner goodie, like that. I'm going to draw a line so I can still get that pretty straight. And I'm going to do the same here. So the little piece that I would normally hang on to gives me the space I need so that my corner goodie doesn't get attached. Right, so I'm just going to cut the tape. From the center out. That way it doesn't tear. So from the center out. There we go. And then just pull this down nice and straight. Same here, pull it up, straight, went a bit skew, straighten that out. Use your bone folder just to round the corners. There you go. Working from the center, I'm going to pull that towards me, making sure that there's no gap between the cardstock and the tape. Same here. There we go. And we can burnish all of that in place. Make sure it's flush against the edge. And there we go, that's the front. That looks pretty good. And that's turned out really nicely. I don't know where my eraser is to take a look. So now we need to decide which is the front and which is the back. So if I put this up like this, my album is straight, lines up nicely on the corners. There we go. So I'm going to have this as my front This is the back, and then this will be the inside, right? So front inside, back inside, just in case I get turned around. Okay, so before obviously we'll cover all this up with packing paper or washi tape later, so I'm not going to do that now, but we can now attach our pages that we've created inside here.